Did you see The Way I Killed Citrus?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was so good.
You should watch The Way I Killed
should watch
Citrus.
Oh no, I saw comments about it. No,
Yep.
I just go read the comments to see if anybody says anything mean about me.
I listen to the podcast version available exclusively to our patrons.
Woo!
And me, because I'm the one who posts it up there. Patreon.com/TFS. Go check it out if you would like to not watch our dumb faces, but still listen to our dumb voices here on Anime FMK, which is where we're at here today.
I am kind of curious. For those of you guys who listen to the podcast and don't watch it, I'm kind of curious how the deaths come off, because all it's got to be is the sounds. Like I'm pretty sure the Black Clover one was audible. Like, oh, I know what's happening here. Some of the rest of them though have got to be so confusing. So.
Well, let's see if we were confused today by the first show on our list of, what are we down to, 10?
Yeah, I think
10.
we're down to 10.
Yeah. Ancient Magus Bride, sole survivor of, not really, just sole survivor that had more than 13 episodes of last season. In episode 16, Chisei sneaks out for a day and meets Alice in London, and they go shopping and giggle and talk about boys, and also about Alice's drug problem. It's a very merry Ancient Magus Bride Christmas special. Yeah, I've just given up.
No, that was perfect. That was everything you needed to cover.
Yeah, but I liked this episode. I thought this was a real return to form. Not a whole lot happened, but what happened was real good. Just building up that relationship between Alice and Chisei. Really leaning into those parallels. Some more interesting stuff with Chisei and Elias. Very understated, but just kind of dealing with like. They've got this weird relationship. Should they kiss? How do they do that? He don't got lips. Also, he's kind of a parental figure, and that's weird. Let's deal with that. Also, Root's up in the mix, and he's real good. Scott, how'd you like this episode?
This was definitely my favorite episode of this. If we're going to call this the second season, oh yeah, way the best episode. Everything clicks, everything works. Unfortunately, apparently, they cut some stuff out from the manga in that whole, like, what do you call it? Montage sequence that we got. We got to know more about what was up with that chick riding that centaur. So I'm a little bit sad that got cut out, but everything else, everything as presented worked great. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy I had a whole episode where I was positive up on the whole thing. And also, I love Alice. I loved Alice since the moment she showed up, and she has only grown into a character that I enjoy more and more as time goes on. Her as a girlfriend for Chisei, yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, them on the bench was a great scene. I loved her flashback, and this was a return to form for the show. It felt like I got all the fun that I remember having. Everything was good, and thank you. Now the googly eyes are there, so I can look at the camera and tell you that this episode is great. The whole Christmas stuff was heartwarming, and them kissing under the mistletoe, I was like, squealing. It was so good.
So for those who don't know what we're talking about, our cameraman kindly puts googly eyes above the lens so that to remind us to address the camera sometimes. Hi, guys over there. Hi, guys over there. I can't look at that one because I'm cropped out of that shot.
Hi, guys over in that direction.
This one has eyelashes.
Oh, that one.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, the one with eyelashes. We're important.
Oh,
Good.
you guys get the lady cam.
Well, I made
Gotta
sure you
flutter
didn't
my eyes
do
about
that. This one just has one.
You lost the other one in the fire.
Yep. Well, let's just hold up an eggplant.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yep.
I'm happy to see, like, we've been doing this, but I think this is the first, like, yeah, it's back. No,
Yeah.
it was good. It was a good episode.
Yeah, all the sweet moments hit sweet, and the darker stuff hit. Oh man.
Yeah, honestly, I went into this one thinking, this show's had a couple of off weeks. It might get I don't know. I couldn't justify giving it a knife compared to the other shit on this list. We grade on a curve. Let's get real. Let's get real about A Place Further Than the Universe. Yes. In episode 4, the expedition leaders, Cool Big Sis and Captain Moleface, take the girls on a mountain training camp to teach them Antarctic survival skills. And this is another one where I could I could get more in depth about the things that happened, but they're mostly just little character moments. That's the plot that happened. But I liked the character moments. We got to see the girls come together and work as a team, see what their dynamic is that way. We got to know a little more about Shirase's past and her mom and all that stuff. And I love the female expedition leaders.
Yes.
Cool Big Sis and Captain Mulface, as I've been talking about, as I have been referring to them. They're real good. They're dope. Scott?
I absolutely love, again, this show continues little background things that are phenomenal, like in the van, there's a little sign that says, do not put a tape in here, abunai, or dangerous. I love that. Yeah, I'm sorry, the expedition leaders are fantastic characters because it's such a tightrope to walk with adults in shows like these because the four main girls are these big characters. They can either come off as boring or too wacky just to try and balance out them. And really, they just come off as kind of functioning adults with their personality quirks. And that's good. That's what they need to be. Also, the scene in the tent, I thought it was a subtitle error. I was like, oh, that's a pretty big subtitle error. And it wasn't. And I love it.
Which line was that?
Please. Oh, God, what was it? Please shut talking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, stop. God, I can't remember the actual wording of it.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, she was saying shut up wrong.
yeah.
She started to say shut, and then she course corrected, like, please shut
Oh, yeah,
talking now.
Just shut talking, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, please.
Came out real weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so good.
Yeah. The thing I'll just describe this one scene that the show does really well when they're at like this kind of I don't know when they're seeing like the PowerPoint presentation like I don't know what you call that but they're seeing the presentation with the expedition crew about, hey, here's what Antarctica's like. You're gonna have to learn X, Y, and Z. And I had to pause it for one reason or another. And I noticed I was looking at it that Shirase looked like really like demure in that scene. She was like out of all the girls, all of them were like looking really excited, and she's not a focus in the shot, but you see her just off on the side, like just kind of looking like very stern, very serious, but she's looking like a little peeved. And as the scene kept going on, as I resumed it and I saw more of her, I was just looking at her the whole time, and every other person's freaking out, but she's in like kind of on the side, not really excited about it. And it's these tiny little character details that go a long way because you learn later in the episode that the person who was given the presentation was the last person to see her mom. And so obviously she's going to have some tension, but she doesn't bring it up or anything. And I love how well this show kind of carries that without being, I don't know, so overt about it. It doesn't really draw attention to it because it doesn't need to.
Yeah, I agree. It's, again, the show's great at just letting the visuals speak for themselves.
And the characters really are characters here. They all have something that drives them, and it's so endearing seeing them kind of come into their own and realize in this expedition they'll have something they can bring to the table, even if they're inexperienced. They're learning stuff, and I love seeing that unfold.
I love it too, and as of this episode, I don't have a single negative thing to say. I'm fucking the show real good.
Yeah, the opening scene with the mom. I'm sorry. I was at the gym watching this episode and I lost my shit on the elliptical. It was a bad thing and I had to stop working out. I love this show.
I also love the show. It continues to be one of the most surprising things for me. I didn't doubt Madhouse. I didn't expect to enjoy something like this so much.
Absolutely. So speaking of things that I never expected to enjoy and was proven right, Hakyu Hoshin Engi. In this episode 3, the third episode, the episode in which if we kill it, it dies, Blue Boy shows up and says that he will help Shonen Boy if Shonen Boy passes 3 tests. The tests are dumb, and Shonen Boy passes them all, but Blue Boy decides to go practice cross-dressing instead of helping Shonen Boy like he said he would. Meanwhile, Bandana Man's wife goes to visit his sister Bandana Girl, and both of them commit suicide, which, I get it. Which makes Bandana Man sad. It occurs to me that at various stages in the writing and storyboarding process, multiple people had to look at this and say, yeah, this is good enough for human consumption. We should give this a budget and animate this, because if humans watch it, they will surely enjoy it. It would be an exaggeration to say that I wished harm on these people, but I do feel that chemical castration would be a reasonable precaution to keep them from polluting the gene pool.
I am sorry. I say it every week. This is the most frustrating, irritating, absolutely irredeemable bullshit I've ever seen in my life. It is by far one of the worst shows. And for not the reasons that you would like see looking at it. You wouldn't even know, just looking at a few screenshots, you wouldn't think it's terrible. Mm-hmm. This is paced the worst. People die, and the next scene, it's like, ha ha ha, time for Hookie Hojinks. Oh yeah, and then the people killed themselves, and we're supposed to care about that. This is the worst. This is absolute garbage. I'm not going to say anymore. Fucking kill it, please. This is absolute dreck. If you like Hoshin Engi, don't watch this. Watch the old anime if you want it. This is like if Dragon Ball animated all of the Saiyan Saga in the first 2 episodes. That's what I've come to understand. If all of the Saiyan Saga happened in 2 episodes, in episode 3 we're now on Namek. That's what's happening here. It's so fucking bad. Don't watch it.
Does anybody smell that rotting food? It's because it was all taken out so 2 bitches could be put in that refrigerator.
This is like a parody of bad anime. This is like somebody who never watches anime making what they think anime is. This is god-awful.
Yeah,
that's triple knife.
Yeah, that is... Oh, to everyone's surprise.
Yeah. Like, look, we occasionally try to preserve some tension here. But sometimes it's like, why pretend?
I'm just so upset because I
Yeah.
saw Soul Hunters as a kid. I wanted to like this. What the fuck happened? Like, I get it. Like, if Dragon Ball didn't have an adaptation past, like, the Cell Saga, and now, because that's what they're doing, is they're like, oh, the first episode, you see that fight between him and the other dude? That's essentially like, hey, cool, Goku's fighting Boo. Imagine if you saw that in episode 1 of Dragon Ball Z Super Kai. Okay, that's what this is. Fuck that. Fuck this.
Well, we didn't fuck it. We killed it all the way dead. Unless something else gets the tri-knife, which, hey, you never know. There's a lot of hot bullshit on this list, but...
there's a little bit of odd bullshit here.
But let's see if Junji Ito Collection is among that hot bullshit. Here in episode 4, in part 1, some guy's granddad, neighbor, and best friend are cursed by a piece of jade that makes them have holes all over their bodies. Also, there's bugs, and I don't know, it's weird. In part 2, a family of traveling puppeteers become puppets because of a cursed puppet that curses them with puppetness.
I don't like the stories this week. Like, I'm gonna put it out there, which is weird because the first part was actually kind of scary. Like, the first time, and this is the first time I'm saying this in the entire, like, in the 4 episodes that I have watched, this is the first time I have actually felt a little scared because the visuals here and the concept was really creepy. I'm sorry, I was like, oh, no, like, air through the holes, no. But they ruin it. Like, I don't know why. I understand that Junji Ito always wants to go as bizarre as he can go, but why even have the doctor? Why have the bugs I could see, but just the holes in the air alone were creepy enough for me. Adding those extra layers didn't add anything, and all it did was just kind of, I don't know, make a scary concept convoluted. And then you have the second part, which was dumb. I'm sorry, puppets were dumb. The whole thing was dumb.
Puppets are controlling people. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it was dumb.
I don't know.
Maybe I can see that last scene working better in the manga, but it was dumb.
I can see you shaking your head, Kieran, and I can't tell if you're shaking because you disagree or...
Yes, I can't disagree more.
Okay.
I felt this was the best episode so far. I read the whole story before, so that like this is also one I was familiar with. And I love how they did this adaptation. The way they do the sound effects go a long way. The music also carries a lot for this one. For me, specifically the sound design is what carried this. Like just the kind of like the wind when they show like the really detailed gross pictures of the holes, and like when his friend shows up on the typhoon, they have this really nice mixing in the background that makes it all go like this crazy cacophony that it is. There's a lot of elements to it that were also in the story. This is just an adaptation of it, and all the elements that they added here I felt did add a lot to it. By giving them motion and animation, it helped make the puppet scene specifically more creepy to me. That's also one that I read too. I loved this. As someone who's read the manga for him, I thought it was great.
I hate the music in this. I'm sorry.
It's so good.
Nah.
Yeah.
I actually like the guy who does the music.
You know what makes me happy is seeing this diverse difference of opinion here, because so much stuff on this list we're just preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
It's the same opinion all the way down the line. So I'm glad that we can have this one that's doing something for Kieran. I'm sort of in the middle. I probably agree with Scott more. It's got some cool ideas. Like, I was pretty reductive about the puppet thing, but I mean, it's got some kind of cool, creepy visuals. But I think that horror is at its best when it takes something like a relatable fear that the audience has and just dials it up to 11. You know, it can be in some metaphorical way, or, you know, some way to satirize modern life or to point something out about the human condition. I don't feel like this really does that, like, at least not in this episode. Some other episodes have had inklings of that, but this one's just like, I don't know, what if this puppet was real creepy and it was the one pulling the strings? So, I don't know. It's, like, again, I always grade more leniently on an anthology series, because if it has given me even one half-decent episode, then I can have hope that the next one will be as good. So I'm still giving this the eggplant. It's a pretty weak eggplant, though.
Again, it's interesting because I actually don't disagree that this was one of the stronger episodes. I just did not particularly like the stories themselves, as I felt like one of them, the puppet one, had some creepy visuals to it, yeah, and I definitely would believe that last scene with the dancing corpse was way better in the manga. Here it just looked silly, and I couldn't stop. Like, I actually laughed a little bit, and I don't think that was intended. So by and large, I think this is a stronger episode. It's just still continuing the trend of the things I don't like with this adaptation.
As a fan of Junji Ito, this is the best adaptation so far for me. I think in the past ones, they haven't been doing them justice. For me, this is actually doing it justice. If you just want to skip the first three and go to this one, this is probably the best episode. If you guys like what Junji Ito does, and if you are familiar with how his horror works, he doesn't try to do anything like... his horror treads the line of comedy, and it's really interesting. You're not gonna find shit like this anywhere else. I highly recommend this.
I would definitely not skip. If you like, I can actually agree with you all except for the one guy who the dreaming guy, the episode with the guy who.
Oh yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah, that one's my favorite segment in this entire show so far. So I would actually recommend people watch that one.
Yeah, that was a real good one.
Yeah.
Let's see if Kokkoku was real good this week. In episode 4, Juri and Granddad have flashbacks and loud arguments in the middle of the street until some thugs notice them and try to murder them, but Juri ejaculates their sperm spirits like a boss. Some other thugs are hanging out with Mysterious Lady arguing about nothing until one of them decides to kill one of the stalled because reasons, and the Herald, now barely bigger than a human, kills him. The Herald keels over, and the Mysterious Lady examines it, hinting that she knows what their deal is. I liked Juri deciding, hey, I'm done running away from these fuckers. I got superpowers. I'm going to punch the sperms right out of you because I'm a baller now. I wish more of the episode had been that, because so much sitting and talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That scene in the house, or was it? I guess it was a little house or a hut or something. It was insufferable because it's like, well, the text, like the flavor of the conversation was kind of neat because you have this one guy who's just like, well, if we're stuck here, it's not all bad. I liked actually the flavor of that conversation, but it went on so long, and again, more questions, and the answers we're getting are barely satisfactory for any of these. On the other hand, Juri being a boss, I was all about. I'm sorry, like I was hesitant about the idea of her becoming more of an action character, but you know what? No, she's actually handling it pretty well, and
someone's got to be.
Yeah, someone's got to move this shit. And yeah, no, those scenes were actually pretty effective. And who knew that that scene where she goes into the convenience store? Why was that so badass? Just going up and grabbing it. I don't know. I actually enjoyed that part. That being said, yeah, I'm not a fan of these of any of almost any of the scene with the what are they called?
Yeah.
The cult. No.
Yeah. How you doing, Kieran?
This I try not to go into this with the expectation that I'm going to see people talking and me being bored. I try to go into this thinking I want to see them do some cool time shit, because that's all I'm ever asking of this show. Do some cool time shit. I love that. We do have one scene that's a flashback where we see her going to time going in stasis the first time. So her grandfather was letting her spend more time with her dog. And that's when we see the past inklings of her kind of having this power because she's so frustrated that she doesn't want her dog to die. She wants to spend time with it. Fuck off, Grandpa. I'm going to stay in frozen time forever. I liked that scene. Everything else I didn't like. I don't like her being an action hero. I actually don't like it. I brought this up, I think, in episode 2 because I noticed in the opening, just the way they frame her looks like she's going to be some superhero. I don't like this angle. I'm not into that. And it's not enough for me to enjoy the moments where they're talking all the time. I don't know. That's really kind of the biggest condemnation of this show. It shows so much promise, but we have yet to see that kind of unfurl.
Yeah, you're not wrong. How unfurled are your cards on it?
Listen. I really want Hoshin Engi to die. So I will continue to ride my hope that Clock Stoppers the anime can happen.
I was always going to give it this no matter what. Because this was a better episode than the last episode, and it's showing signs of getting better to me. I'm seeing signs that things are about to get rolling, but if they don't next episode, we're probably not going to get this again. I won't lie, because this is where it just has to get good for me, because I liked the action. I liked the ramp up. It needs to continue. Please stop talking.
Yeah, this gave me just barely enough to string me along that I would probably, even if it wasn't for Engi, I'd probably still be giving it the eggplant. But yeah, this needs to shape the fuck up. I gotta be honest. Speaking of things that I've been back and forth on, kind of middling on, Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens. Now on its 3rd episode, in which Newbie Boy hires the Revengers to frame whoever framed him. Hackerman figures out that it was the mayor's son who killed Hitman Girl's sister, so Detective Bedhead poses as a human trafficker and sells Hitman Girl to the mayor's son as his next victim. However, Hackerman double-crosses them, so the Kingpin expects their trap and traps it. Unbeknownst to any of them, Kevin Spacey and Kaiser Soze are the same person all along. Kieran, start us off.
So I had a realization about this show when I was watching it. I was like, this is like, I don't know. This show is the B student of all B students. It is not wowing me in any way, but you could do so much worse than this show. This show is doing everything it does competently. There isn't a lot. What I really want from it, and what I think it's like inkling towards, it doesn't really have its own identity or kind of bite to it. The closest it has to that is the cross-dressing like hitman dude and like the stupid mayor's son character. That's the closest they have in the Avengers, I guess. But this show, you could do a lot worse if you enjoy crime dramas. This show has a fun ensemble narrative. Like the more I'm seeing it, I'm actually okay with how this is telling the story because it is focusing more on clearly the characters are Banba and Lin, and they're really dynamic together. I like seeing these two. I don't know. It's very average, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't like Banba. I liked him in the first episode, but as episodes go by, he's coming off as way too competent, way too cool, and his whole obsession with spicy Pollock ramen, or spicy Pollock in general, is not funny, it's not quirky, it's just kind of, he's less of a character and more of a function, and I don't like it. That being said, his relationship with Lin does work in a way because you have this hothead and you have this cool guy, and together I can see them working competently. And I like the fact that Mr. Hacker Dude has just screwed everything up for them. And I don't know. there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of things that happen in this episode. Like with every episode of Hakata Tonkotsu Ramen, talking about it granularly in this segment is not going to work. But by and large, I have to agree with you. It is a solid B student, and I don't know. I want to see more of the Revengerers. I'm sorry. I still love their whole concept, and I love that the Sad Sack is now involved with them. And yeah.
See, I would call this a C+ at best. It's like, and it depends who that student is. If this is usually a B student and you see that C+, it's like, oh, what happened? If this is usually a D student and you see that C+, it's like, oh, look at that, you stepped it up. But no matter who's doing it, it's like, oh man, you're at like a 78, 79. Like, if you just fill in that one extra credit question, you could get up there and be half decent, but you're just not quite pulling it off. Like, Hackerman's betrayal, if I knew what his deal was, if I gave any of a shit, like, it seems to want me to go, oh no, not Hackerman, but I don't know, he dresses like a banana. I don't give a shit about this kid. I don't know why he was Detective Bedhead's friend before. I don't know why he decided to double cross him now, other than so yeah, I don't have a good sense of any of these characters, except for cross-dressing Hitman Girl. And that's not enough to keep me going. Like, this is the one that it's like, guess what? Hoshin's still on the list, so kill that first. And look, maybe in episode 4 it fills out that extra credit question and it pulls it out. And if so, hey, I'll be as stoked as anybody. It has that potential. It is not realizing it yet.
Despite saying I give it a solid B, I can't really disagree with most of your assessment there, but I don't know. For me, I think I'm just getting more enjoyment out of it in general. I think it's just doing more for me by its flavor, that makes sense. But for me, yeah, definitely gonna give it another fuck. That being said, I really hope that it does actually put in some extra effort to make things a little bit spicier.
If you need to watch anime, like if you are driven and compelled and you have to do it because it's your job, you can do far worse than Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens. But if you don't need to watch stuff, if you are fine spending your afternoons doing something else, you can probably pass on it. But if you want to watch anime, you could do far worse than this. This checks every box, but it's missing a few that would help push it over the edge.
Well, let's see how many boxes get checked by Hakumei and Mikochi, Tiny Life in the Woods. Tiny Little Life in the Woods? I don't know. This has a lot of titles. In this, the third episode, in part 1, Hakumei explodes Mikochi's house, and the two of them go camping while the littlest necromancer has her bone daddies rebuild it. In part 2, we follow Hakumei on an ordinary workday as a carpenter. I said last time that I was afraid, this might be kind of wearing a little thin. This episode brought it back, in a really satisfying way. We had some, not, huge, heart-wrenching whatever, but we had some actual conflict, some actual personal drama. Very understated, but that's all I need for something that's as adorable as this is. Especially in the second part. The first part was cute, and I liked it. The second part was, got a little bit into what Hakumei's deal is. Turns out Hakumei used to be homeless. We're still not sure how Mikochi wound up, taking her in and they wound up living together. But Hakumei, low-key, doesn't really feel like she's pulling her weight and wants to, step it up and feel like a more equal part of this partnership. And I loved seeing that. It was really dope.
I love this episode. I loved every second of this episode. From the house exploding to the fruit falling on their tent.
Yep.
There's a lot of things, just a great comedic timing. And we brought back the necromancer in not a low-key but very casual manner. Don't worry, I'll rebuild your house. And then Hakumei is like, cool, we get to go camping. This is awesome. I used to do this all the time when I had no home. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. No, I love this episode top to bottom because what we see here is nothing, none of the supernatural stuff. This is all just a day in their lives with some consequences about okay, them going camping is due to something crazy. But otherwise, yeah, let's see what they're like when they go camping. And then let's see her at work. How does she work? What does she do? I love seeing them in their average life. And Iwashi Dani?
Yeah.
Like
her boss is a weasel, and it's dope.
He's
yes,
so good.
He's so good. He smokes.
Yeah.
He has a smoke in one part of his mouth and nails in the other, and he's just the quintessential Japanese
Just working man.
working man, and I love it. And yeah, I know it was such a good episode. I was so happy with this. After last week and all the supernatural stuff, I was like, "Yep, nope, we're back." I'm glad.
The second half of this episode alone could have been its own thing. This could have been probably the whole episode for me, and I would have loved it. The first half has a lot of great. I love the sky. Whoever is drawing these fucking backgrounds is kicking ass. Like I love
Agreed.
when they go camping. They just show this panning shot. And hot damn, it looks amazing. Yeah, the lime falling on the tent, so good. And when you see Hakame hang out with her boss Weasel Man, and he's so endearing. They have such a cool dynamic relationship that you can tell that she's tiny, she can go in and fix all the shit. He's like, all right, I'll keep lookout. And then they have conflict, a lot of really. I don't know, a lot more dynamic stuff this episode. And that's what I wanted. It was fun seeing them kind of, just bum around and enjoy the world. This actually had a real conflict to it, and it was great seeing that play out with some interesting new character.
So you're definitely knifing it, though, right?
I'm absolutely killing it. Fucking garbage ass show.
No,
I
this
don't like
show
it.
is killing it.
Yeah, this show's great. I love it.
When it comes to a couple of girls who absolutely love each other and citrus, this is the show that I want.
I mean, low key, these two are definitely fucking, right?
I'm not gonna I'm not that kind of guy who's gonna say, "Oh no, there's definitely Yuri undertones," but there is certainly an amount of domestic partnership with these two, because
They're just roommates, man. Can they just live together?
I know.
Is that so wrong?
I just love the line though. It's like, look, forgetting your umbrella, I can understand, but could you at least run?
Oh, yeah.
She cares about her so much. Makes her tea, preps her bath. It's just so cute.
Yeah, it's less sexual tension and more old married couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not definitely gonna say they're lesbians, but it's like they're a cute couple. That's what they are.
Guys, let's pivot from panning shots to panty shots.
Woo!
It's
Yes!
Cilling Bites. In this episode 3, Hitomi Badger and Fat Wolverine, who I looked this up, he actually transforms into a hippopotamus.
That's good though.
I'm gonna keep calling him Fat Wolverine because
That's who he is.
regardless.
Why did you tell us?
Sorry.
Although I'm right. I bet my friend he turned into a hippo. Yes.
Hitomi Badger and Fat Wolverine need a third teammate to enter the Tenkaichi Budokai, so they try to recruit Bunny Bitch, but she doesn't want to because she sucks at fighting. Hitomi Badger and Fat Wolverine both fail at convincing her, but Perfectly Ordinary College Student succeeds at inspiring her, by being even lamer than she is. Start us off, Scott.
Man, I feel like actually, maybe I'm the best one to start us off because this is the gay man. This episode obviously did a little less for me than it probably would for its intended audience. That being said, it's not a bad episode. For me, it's definitely a step down from the other ones because its primary conceit is, oh yeah, let's just come up with a reason to put these girls in cute little outfits and have them show off, which I am not opposed to. I know what the show's about. I'm not angry about it, but to a certain extent, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to kind of watch these scenes as they are and judge them from an artistic point of view of, is this good cheesecake? And honestly, it seems like it's pretty good cheesecake. I talked with a friend of mine last night who is straight. Well, actually, he's bi, but it doesn't matter. And he was like, "Oh no, that did it for me." Like with the tails, yeah, they're absolutely right. I'm like, you know what? Good. I'm glad. I was actually functionally happy that did it.
So he's not gay like you. Do you have anything else in common that might have affected his relative level of interest in this, or
there might have been.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's also a furry. But that being said, I know plenty of non-furries who are still into cat girls, and that's a part of it apparently. So yeah, by and large, the other part of it though is that I'd hate the bunny chick. Maybe she'll get better, but I don't like her. But then again, she was not. Even though she was a big part of the episode, I don't think she's going to take away from later stuff. She's got a purpose. She's there. But how about those, blood shooting chicks? They were cool.
Yeah, I didn't touch on them in the episode summary because they have nothing to do with anything. They just kind of show up. But yeah, they're horned lizard women who can shoot blood out of their eyes in like laser beam fashion. It's weird.
I love how this show is just using, it really is just Bloody Roar the show. They're using animals as foundations for like power sets for people. And I can't get enough of it because every time someone does some bullshit move, we get the horned lizard shoots blood. And we get like this really shitty textbook art. Like this show is fun. It's fun. I don't know how else to put it like that. If you enjoy anime, like you'll have something fun with this. I love it as a straight dude who fancies some little furry shit on the side. Yeah, it's fun. It's doing a lot for me, and it's such a good time to watch with your significant other if you can both appreciate it.
I am wondering though, could somebody tell me what Cilling Bites is?
A tournament. It's Tekken.
No. I mean, literally, Hitomi always tells us that's what Cilling Bites is every time,
sorry.
every
I missed your
episode,
joke.
and stop, just stop.
I gotta say, this fan service isn't really doing anything for me. I don't like furry shit. That's not my deal. But everything else about this, like, I realized how much the soundtrack is pulling me into it.
Yeah.
Because no matter how boring a scene is on paper, they'll just bring in that dumb electric guitar. Yeah, it's the same reason why Light Yagami eating a potato chip is the dumbest, memeiest, funnest shit. You put that electric guitar to anything, and I'll fuck it.
Yeah, I don't think about it much, but often a lot of anime will use that exact same type of soundtrack to terrible extents. No, this one knows how to use it in a scene and make even the dumbest bullshit seem like the greatest bullshit.
Yeah, I don't want the fan service to be the main takeaway. Like, yeah, it's really good. No, this show is just fun. The action is great, the soundtrack is fun, the characters interacting, the fact that the main character is still in crutches. That's so funny to me. I'm having such a fun time. The only anime I like every time I'm like, shit, I gotta watch stuff. Cilling Bites is up, yo, let's do it every time.
Yeah, me too. Yuasa still sucks though.
Right?
Darling in the Franks. In episode 3, the characters spend the first act sitting and rehashing the last episode while somber music plays. Devil Girl sneaks Bland Boy through a security checkpoint to show him a beautiful golden city, which he is impressed with, but she isn't. The adults send the kids out to fight some Metroids. Devil Girl wants to go with Bland Boy, but the adults won't let them. So even Blander Boy goes with her instead, and they seem to be doing real good, but when they get back, even Blander Boy is in a coma or something. Kieran, start us off with this one.
So Darling in the Franxx is it's a trigger show, so I like seeing the trigger things because you get a lot of that, and that alone I love what they do, and I love how visually they convey dynamic scenes, and you will see a lot of that in this episode. We get a nice fight underground, and they have the characters fully immersed in the backgrounds as they're moving. A lot of really good action shots with this episode, and even the scene where she takes Hiro to the city, and you see her kind of like traipsing about, and they use widescreen to like really highlight some stuff. Like, I could take you out of this town. We could leave. Just you and me, baby. They're doing a lot of fun stuff with it. Oh my God, I hope everybody else just dies. I hope everybody else in the cast just goes away. They're so boring. I can't handle when it's anybody else on screen.
Ichigo is kind of incredibly frustrating to me as a character. I understand her motivation. I understand why she does the things that she does, but she is annoying as all get out with this consistent need to ride Hiro's dick. Only a third of this episode actually did anything for me, but the things that it does are actually really interesting to me. I'm sorry, I actually like this. Oh God, what's her name? 02, was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like her. And I usually would hate her, but she's like the so you take the manic pixie dream girl, but then like invert her. She's shaking everything up in his life, but I don't know. It's this weird concept, and I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that she's the only one with character. The one out of all of them that is the crazy one who's actually like competent, and it's hard for me to talk about this show in short form. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of interesting concepts. Visually, the storyboards on this are so good. Like the scene where they go out to see the city is beautiful. Everything is captured in this wonderful dark orange and black, and I don't know. It's got me fascinated in a lot of moments. But then you get into the mechs, and everything after that is so paint by numbers. Oh, of course there's more than one of them. Oh, of course there's a giant one. Oh, of course she goes to save them. Oh, of course he can't actually handle it. Yeah, I could tell you single step of what was going to happen. So, I don't know. I like this show in a lot of ways. And it's actually continuing to support some of what I said the other week. Although now I'm almost convinced she's supposed to be the foreigner. She's the foreigner and not the manga character or anime character that I thought she might be. But we'll continue. Like, if it's obviously not going to die this week, we know what's dying this week. So we'll continue on till next week. But
Well, I am looking forward to Unsnipped. I am glad. Like, if this show has nothing else going for it, spoiler, this show has fucking nothing else going for it. But I am looking forward to discussing, like, what is this show trying to say about sex and life and yada, yada, yada. But Kieran, you have in the past said, the worst thing any show can do is bore me. This show fucking bores me to tears. Knife.
I'm not bored. And I'm very intrigued by certain parts of this show. But I'd be lying if I said that its main takeaway was anything other than rehashed and recycled. I'm actually still interested enough to keep watching though, and this isn't a fuck so we can kill Hoshin Engi. I am actually really curious, and I'm interested in talking about this on Unsnipped.
This show is boring at its worst, and that's just kind of how it is right now. And I think everyone I've seen on the discourse, I've seen a lot of people say that this show is very boring, that the characters aren't doing a lot, and I don't think they're wrong. They're not doing anything. But there is something there. I can tell that there is something interesting under the surface of what feels like a veneer of anime bullshit that they want to get out of the way, but they don't want to rush it. Something in this episode clicked with me. Maybe it was just seeing the mech fights, because I'm a mech junkie, so I like seeing those. But really it was the city scene that actually did a lot more for me. The way they framed it and the way they used a bit more dynamic stuff. It's something is there. I hope. It might not be, but I have faith that there's going to be something happening that'll be really fun.
Well, let's see if anything happened that was really fun in Pop Team Epic. In this episode 4, drugs.
Yeah, okay.
The wacky races!
The
Muttley.
I took your advice, Scott. I watched this on High Dive.
You chose the wrong one.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Because here's the thing. Either I'm going to get it, as in wacky races, in which case having the joke explained to me is just distracting.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to get it, in which case having the joke explained to me, that doesn't make it funny. So, yeah, in the future, I'm going to go back to watching this on Crunchyroll without the translator's notes because, I had the same problem with Gintama. Watching something and then pausing every 5 seconds to go, oh, what was that reference? Oh, what was that reference? That's not a good way to watch something. So I appreciate that it's there. Like, if you really like this and want to go through a second watching.
I'd say a second, that would work better. As a supplemental thing, not for the initial viewing.
Yeah, but for my purposes of just, let's tune into this weird thing and see what it does for me, that was a bad on me.
Yeah, I can see that, because ultimately a lot of those references were ones you easily got. Cool Runnings, a film by Disney. Really? Top Gun. Really? I could not have told. Yeah, no. Also, a lot of American references in this one. Donkey Kong reference, which I was like, oh, damn.
Donkey Kong Country specifically.
Yeah. Like, I loved, so she tells her to do a certain thing. In Japan, like, they'll put the hand over and then, like, you know, basically being physically imposing for the sake of increasing sexual tension. There's a word for that, and she uses it. So I got it, but using the term for it actually threw me off. But the fact that it goes into that Donkey Kong scene was probably the highlight of the episode for me, which is good because I had to be honest with you, this is my least favorite episode. Just because they do a couple of long-form segments, and yeah, either the long-form segments do work for the most part, like with the what do you call it, the Pop Idol one, that worked for me the first time through.
Yep.
The Cool Runnings one didn't work at all for me. And maybe it was because, you know, with the whole wacky racist thing, yeah, I got way too distracted by the fact that they had to censor that out. So I was like, well, I mean, the joke is, I guess, there, but it's more distracting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to separate whether I was cooler on this one because of the way I watched it, or if it was something intrinsic to the episode. That said, it needs to be faster paced if it's going to be just lol random and references. I think the premise is starting to wear a little thin. That said, I could not, in good conscience, like, I know this isn't going to die. I don't need to hold up an eggplant so that Hakyu Hoshin Engi dies instead. That said, it would not be right of me to give this the knife and some of the other shit an eggplant that I did. So I'll go ahead and plant this. At its worst, it's still 10 minutes because I can just skip the reprise at this point.
I watched the reprise only because, so they started with the females this time, and I love the female Seiyu in this. They were super good, but I wanted to hear the male Seiyu as well. And it was Tesha Gendo. God, I always remember. It's a Gendo, maybe it is, and Akira Kamiya. And again, two more Dragon.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to figure out who it was.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I was looking it up. I was like, holy shit, it's fucking Kenjiro.
Yeah, it's also BoJack and
Yeah.
Garlic Jr. And I'm like, this is great.
Oh shit, Will Arnett's in this?
Hopefully they get him for the dub.
Yeah, yeah. So I was pretty. I love figuring out who plays who in this. That's always an extra. As a Seiyu guy, it's always a cherry on the top for me, and I think it's really supposed to be a big thing for the Japanese as well. But yeah, it's my least favorite episode so far, but it still got laughs out of me, and that's what's important.
I think the last episode was actually my least favorite. This stepped it up a lot for me. I wasn't that big on the Pop Idol one. This race segment, though, I don't know. I dug it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I knew everything they were doing, so maybe that increased my enjoyment. And just, I only watch now the back half because that always has the male voices, and I think that's my favorite way to watch it. I don't want to see it again. I just skip right to the 12-minute mark, and I watch from there, and I have a great time.
Not always. First one had male first.
Yeah, and every other one since then has been male at the end.
What's that? Before we break, by the way, let's take a hip hip hooray for the death of Hokenahashu.
On three.
Hip, hip,
Hooray!
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yep, it's dead. It's never coming back.
Can never hurt us.
Yep. But before we break and go off into the unsnip segment, there's that word that you said. It's Japanese. It's something to do with voice actors.
Seiyu?
Say me. Say it together. See it unsnipped.